So many of us spend hours and hours practicing our improvisations, but progress can seem really slow, especially if we're not focusing in on the one thing that's really essential whenever we're talking about improvisation. Not theory, not licks, those are both there to help us get a sound a bit more in line with the jazz language, but the most important thing is being able to play what you hear in your head. So today, let's go over why that's so important and a few different ways you can start doing that today, whatever level you're currently at. You see, the problem that most of us face is that when we start improvising, we might start with a blues scale or a pentatonic scale, and then we learn those in a few different keys. But when we're actually improvising, we're basically just picking random or semi-random notes from those scales and hoping it's going to sound good, rather than thinking about the lines and melodies that we want to play using those scales. And then, over time, the muscle memory sets in, and we start relying far more on that, and kind of forgetting that what we're trying to do is use our ears to make music. And when we rely on muscle memory, although our improvisations can still sound fine, our melodic lines aren't going to flow as much, any licks or harmonic concepts are going to sound more forced, it's going to be harder to react to the other musicians playing, and it's really going to slow down our progress. The late great Chick Corea actually wrote a list of advice for playing music in groups. And check out the very first tip: only play what you hear. And if that doesn't convince you of how important this is, check out the second tip: if you don't hear anything, don't play anything. A very similar concept, right? So how can we start doing this? Well, the first thing is making sure you're singing every part of your practice. Scales, arpeggios, doesn't matter what it is, sing it before you play it. What we're trying to do here is build up the relationship between our ears and our instrument. And because we spent so much of our lives talking, we naturally have quite a good relationship between our ear and our voice. So let's utilize that in practice. Now, you don't have to be a great singer to do this. Confidence, or faked confidence, is really useful here. Go slow and be as accurate as you can with the pitch. You can always use a piano or whatever you've got access to help keep you in check. And the next crucial part is to make sure that you're transcribing solos or other melodies in your practice. And I know that's pretty common knowledge at this point, and pretty much every jazz YouTuber goes on and on about it, and you might already be doing it. But the important thing here is to make sure you sing what you're transcribing before you try and work it out. Now, you could sing the whole solo before working out any of it, or you could go phrase at a time, sing, then play. Either way, just make sure you're singing it before you work it out on your instrument. And then, if you're doing any particular practice based on that solo, whether that's incorporating little bits of language or any musical devices, make sure you can sing them as well. And then when you're improvising, whether that's in the practice room or on the bandstand, make sure you're singing what you want to be playing. Now, most of the time we do this in our heads, especially us horn players, because we've got our mouths full. But you've probably heard some of the greats like Oscar Peterson doing this out loud while they're playing live or in the studio. And if it's good enough for them, surely it's good enough for us mere mortals. But what if you're not transcribing any solos? Let's say you're a beginner trying to get to grips with the minor pentatonic scale so you can start improvising with it. Well, it's the same vibe. We still want to be able to sing that scale and sing improvisations using that scale. And if you're working with a sound you're unfamiliar with, build it up one note at a time. Start by singing improvisations just using the first note of the scale. And then sing in your head as you're playing your instrument, still using just that one note. And then build it up one note at a time, making sure not to add the next note until you're really comfortable with the ones you've already got. That way, you're going to be so familiar with the sound of the scale that you're able to play anything and everything that you're hearing and singing in your head. And as you do all of this practice, the relationship between your ear and your instrument is going to get better and better, until whatever it is you're hearing in your head, whether it's simple sounds or a really complex harmonic device, you're going to be able to play it instantly. And if you want to know how we can turn simple sounds to hear, like basic arpeggios, into killer solos, check out this video next.